Welcome everyone to another one of the SWR Network Discord info shares. Today's topic will be Lighting 101 presented by our own mod, December Blatt. There is going to be a screen presentation, so feel free to follow along on the stream. This one is being recorded, so if you do jump in, please make sure to mute yourself, but feel free to chat in chat. Ask any questions that you have as they pop up. Go ahead and put them in chat, and at the end, we will go ahead and ask December live what your questions are and get some answers. There won't be any info swaps next month. Sometimes it's hard to get presenters in and out, but we will be doing some social events next month and also some restreams of older info shares if the community is interested. We had a restream a few weeks ago, and it was pretty popular. So go ahead and take it away, December, whenever you're ready.
Okay. Hey guys, I am December. So just want to open up with a little bit about me. I have been in sex work for 16 years now. I started as a wee babe. I started out doing full service sex work, primarily being a sugar baby and then other types of full service sex work. About 4 years into that, I shifted to strictly online for safety reasons. Have been doing that ever since. I have run the gambit. I've been a phone sex worker. I've been a cam model. I was a phone sex worker back when you had like a switchboard you had to dial into. That ages me a little bit. So I wanted to teach a little bit about Lighting 101. Some of this I've learned through my own experience, just working through the industry on various shoots and then camming and other online work. And then also photography was my major in college. So a little bit of background there. So we're just going to go through some of the basics. I'm going to talk to you guys about two different types of lighting and what that looks like for your content creation purposes. So think videos, photo sets, more for things like OnlyFans, etc. Many-vids, clips for sale, things like that. And then also for streaming. So for this can be applied to, I know some sex workers do vanilla stream sites as well as sex work stream sites. This can be applied to both. And what kind of those options look like. We're going to talk about like lighting temperature, different ways to light yourself, different tools to use to light yourself, and just some general like tips and tricks and things to make that process easy and as affordable for you as possible. So we are just going to dive right in. All right, so first thing I want to talk to you about is lighting temperature. Lighting temperature can play a huge part in what you look like on camera, both in person and in your photos. I say in person when I think of photos, but in your photos as well as what you look like on stream or in your cam spaces. And so, give me just one second. So lighting is based on a Kelvin scale. So anywhere from like 1,000 is going to be more warmer, more orangish yellow, all the way up to 10,000 Kelvin is your like bluish white light. For streams in particular, I like to try and maintain somewhere around the middle, right? That's where I am right about now. My light I am using currently is temperature adjustable, but I like to try and stay as neutral as possible. That way, when I am streaming, based on different people's monitors or devices, it gives them like the most realistic picture of what I look like. To give you kind of an object, like a visual of what that looks like. Also, there's my dogs. You're going to see lots of pictures of my dogs. All three of these pictures were taken within about a 15-minute time span, same time of day, same part of my backyard. So over we have here on the cooler scale up towards that 10,000 Kelvin that we talked about, where this is Jupiter, where she looks a little more blue. It is more blue light toned, more cool toned. Here in the middle, we have a picture that is more sitting in the neutral end, and then here over on this end, what it looks like when things are more warm toned. I manipulated these through Photoshop for this purpose, but it can look drastically different. It can make like your different tones in your picture show up differently. So like in your more warm toned images where she is normally white, she does look a little bit yellow. Some of her blacks and grays are not as deep and rich as they are as opposed to a more neutral tone picture or a more cool toned picture. Even the color in the blue of her eyes is diluted a little bit compared to where in the bluer tone picture, where obviously that's going to make that pop a little bit more. So as you're photographing, as you're filming, I recommend using something that is more in your neutral territory. That way you can, in post, always manipulate it to suit the kind of vibe or the feel that you are going for in your video. So for lighting, different types of lighting instruments, I have used everything from quite literally this $10 lamp here on this side from Walmart. It is, I think it's $9.97. It's the 71-inch Mainstays floor lamp, in case anybody is interested. And just a household light bulb and threw a white sheet over it as a diffuser. I've used Christmas lights. As I progressed in my career, I upgraded to some softbox lights that were on stands, or just sitting in front of a window and using the literal sun. But anything is viable. There is like no wrong answer to how you can light yourself, particularly for streaming services or camming. Definitely, you always want to light yourself directly from the front. Lighting yourself with even like a $10, I keep gesturing like it's next to me, even just a $10 lamp is better than not having any kind of front facing light at all. It's going to make a lot difference. It's going to make a huge difference in your stream and how people see you. Having a better lit stream is going to equate to more views. People are more interested when they can see your face. They're there because they want to interact. One of the big things that I always preach, especially when you are doing cam work or stream work, is if you have a light facing you, use some kind of diffuser, whether it's like throw a pillowcase over the light, a sheet. If you're sitting in front of a window, I used to use you can get the really cheap sheet sets from, again, Walmart, and thumbtack them over my window to use as just one big diffuser to diffuse the light, so you don't have really harsh lines or really harsh splotches of light all over your face. We want to go for a more even toned, a more even look to your stream setting. Also, doing this kind of same thing when you're filming content is also pretty key. The more you can diffuse your light and spread it out over a larger amount of space, you'll be able to see your content a lot better. You won't have any harsh lines. Everything just kind of looks a little bit softer, a little more natural, even though for the most part, it is probably not, maybe, but a little more natural than it would, as opposed to using harsher lighting. We will talk about harsher lighting too. So, especially in if you're using the sun, this is Savannah Savage. This is from a shoot that I did with her several years ago. We have a picture here on the left where she is in full sun. So you can see the harsher lines, the harsher shadows across her face, which still looks good. If that's the look you're going for, I'll always creative license, take your creative license with this stuff. Do whatever feels right. But you are going to come across, especially if you're using full sun, full light without any kind of diffusion or anything like that, you are going to get harsher shadows, harsher lines for lighting across the body, across the face. As opposed when we moved into the shade where things are a little more diffused, she's more evenly lit. She doesn't have any harsh shadows across her face or her body. There are some soft shadows where you can see where her clothing sits. But other than that, it maintains pretty even. So we're going to talk about different types of lighting. So front lighting. Front lighting is where obviously your light is coming from directly in front of you. This stuff is pretty ideal for camming situations or for streaming situations. Right now, like I'm using a front light. I have a ring light that sits in front of my monitors that points literally directly in front of my face. So that's what you're looking for. It is going to make your backgrounds look a little more flat if you're just using the one light or maybe two lights in front of you, as opposed to maybe also lighting your backdrop as well. But your front lighting is what's going to bring focus to you. So we want to make sure that you are lit well and that the background stuff can be secondary. Lighting yourself, lighting from the front is the most important thing. Being able to see you is the most important thing. And then we have side lighting. Side lighting is pretty self-explanatory. It's where light comes in directly from the side. It's going to create like harsher lines, harsher shadows across the face. This is a pretty good demonstration of that, where we have light coming in directly hitting this side of the dog's face, and this side is in shadow. It is highlighted with a different color light, so you can tell the difference where the white light is hitting versus not. The white light being our light source. Again, here, half the face in shadow, half the face in light. You can also like turn your subject to face the side light and get more of the front profile or front of the body towards the side lighting. But again, with the side lighting, you are going to cast like some pretty harsh lines and harsh shadows. Obviously, if that's the vibe you're going for, definitely do that. Lighting is there to be fun and creative. Don't feel limited by anything. And then backlighting. Backlighting is one of probably the harder things to achieve and do well, especially with people. I typically don't use it a lot in my content personally, unless I am doing something with like silhouette work, because that's typically what you're going to wind up with. Occasionally, if you have things that have some kind of translucence to it, you'll be able to see through them if they're backlit. But typically this larger image is what you're going to wind up with, where you're going to have almost your light sources looks as almost as if it's blown out, where you can't make out anything out here outside the windows or anything like that, because that's where the focus is coming from and focusing inward, and everything in front is in shadow. It definitely creates a more dramatic look when you just have stuff that's backlit. It can be more dramatic. It can be very sensual, especially if you're doing silhouette work or do anything with any kind of silhouettes. It can be really fun to play with backlit options, especially I've done a shoot with another sex worker where we did do some silhouette stuff and we backlit our bodies. It was super fun. They turned out beautiful, but it is definitely a little more challenging from a lighting aspect. Not something I would recommend on a basis for streaming or for camming. This would be something more for content creation. With streaming and camming, we tend to try and stick to front-facing even light, so you're able to be seen and all your movement is able to be tracked by your camera and by your audience. Of course, there is always like definitely a lot of room to have fun with lighting and do different kinds of lighting. Especially when it comes to colors. I'm a big fan of using colored lighting in a lot of my work. So I like to incorporate LEDs, glow sticks. I have little floodlights that actually change color. And placing them around to create different shadows and different moods for different sets. My primary creation now for content is through either videos or photo sets. So I don't do cam work anymore. It's all downloadable content essentially. So videos and photo sets is primarily what I do. I have done colored lighting on cam before. It's having it as a background and a little bit more like background and into my sides. So you have your fill light or maybe your key light as opposed to your primary light. To add a little moodiness to the set. It was always fun around like holidays, like Halloween and Christmas, but in particular, where I used a lot of those, while still remaining having that ability to be seen by your audience. Oh, I'm missing some. Go back. Oh no, hold please. Hold please. Something is missing. I'm going to talk now. So we're gonna freewheel it here a little bit.
I've heard of
So-
Google doing this stuff lately with sex worker shit, actually, and like Google Drive and stuff. So anyway,
I'm in the middle of transitioning out of Google Drive for this reason in particular, where just it flags things that it thinks are inappropriate and just yoinks them. So I am taking it to think that it thought that some of my presentation was inappropriate.
We'll go with that, or generic Google fuckery. Anyway, we'll do it live.
Anyway, all right. So we're going to talk about a couple more like not complicated, but a little more advanced lighting techniques where you're not just using one light or two to light yourself or to light your background, where you're maybe using like a full setup, like in having an overhead light, and then are having anywhere from like 3 to 4 lights. So typically in a full like studio set, you will have your main light, your key, and your fill, and you may have a backlight as well that lights up your backdrop. One of the big things that I always want to stress is especially when you're working with multiple lights, you do want to give a space between your camera and your light source. A lot of times, especially if you're doing video work or photo work, if your camera is too close to the light, you will end up with lens flares. Even with like my lens flare protector, I have still wound up with them on occasion. So making sure that you have a distance in between it. It also allows more room for your camera equipment, your phone, whatever it happens to be able to capture that picture wholly and to be able to detect the light wholly. On a video set, you are going to probably have your overhead lights as ambient light in the room. When I have shot for studios, I shot for smaller studios, there is typically some kind of floodlights overhead to just generically light the set. And then you have the key and fill lights that light the talent as well, just as a general ambiance. Right now, like I am using my window right now behind me because I have a boob dome light in this room that's not very kind to the backdrop of my bedroom or to my office. So I'm using my window light as just a basic backdrop light. So you can still see kind of what's happening, but it is not the forefront since I am more prominently lit. Your subject that you are filming, shooting, taking pictures of always needs to be the most prominently lit thing, even if it is lit with like a fun color or a fun texture. Something that I deeply encourage is learning once you've kind of mastered and figured out lighting that works well for you is knowing your angles and then experimenting with like different colors and different kind of textures. I like using mesh screens to create textures on the face, or blinds can create some really fun like shadows. When it comes to lighting, there really is no right or wrong answer. I think it's one of like the great things that we get to do in sex work is we get a license to be as creative as we want. And so in doing that, like take your creative liberties and also, film and make content that your audience will love, but also film and make things that make you happy and proud to put out as well. I found that like when I am filming and shooting content that I really love and enjoy and that I am really artistically proud of, my customers and clients really like it as well. Even though I might be a little unsure sometimes, I'm like, oh, probably shot with the neon green light one too many times. Somehow they still end up thrilled by it. So, and are just still as excited to see it as if I had shot with just a plain white natural light in front of my face. We can actually go ahead and jump into questions if you guys would like to do that. I know Tits McGee said, what temperature lighting is ideal for darker skin? Truth be told, it depends on the undertone of your skin. like for me personally, I have a lot of pink undertones in my skin to balance that out, to make my skin more neutral. I tend to stick with stuff that is more yellow. I recommend going with something that is similar to an undertone that you use in your foundation, if you use foundation at all. That is actually like a pretty good indicator of what temperature lighting is going to suit you best, is based on like an undertone of a foundation. I'm trying to find my remote. Let's see if I can change the temperature here. I recommend finding a light. This one, I'm using a little ring light right now. It's from Amazon. I think it was 20 bucks. It does do temperature change as well. And you can even scroll through it and kind of like find one that fits with you best. But I have always found that sticking to a temperature that matches my foundation undertone is what has always suited best.
So, like, depending on what mood you're going for, too, I like to use a soft pink fill light, regardless of what your key lighting is. So basically, the cheapest option for this is go to your major department store, go in the light bulb section, look for grow lights. Grow light bulbs are like maybe $10. And the soft pink lighting I have found is pretty universally flattering. And it kind of softens and makes you look rosy regardless of your undertone. My undertone is yellow-green, very warm complected. And this is like an evening lighting setup I haven't had an issue with, regardless of like who I was camming with. If I was coming with someone with a very different complexion, or we have lumps and bumps and cellulite, things that we're always issue with. I am a curvier, larger gal. I got some lumps and thumps on my thighs. This fills those lovely. So
use purple. So like that's the tone I use normally right now, that's giving this other blush color thing on this side of my face, is I have purple lighting that goes around the top of my room. I use like a LED, but I agree. That soft pink is generally very flattering. I think the only color I've never seen very flattering on like universally is green. Using any kind of green light does not work for everybody. That's the only time that's the only color I think I've ever seen that doesn't usually work.
Do you have any recommends maybe for lighting that would fit into a smaller space or be easily portable or hideable?
Actually, I do. So I'm gonna reach over actually right now and show you the one that I'm using. This one is pretty teeny tiny. It does collapse down pretty small. And then these parts do come, the ring hoop of this also comes unattached from this. I got this from Amazon. Even if you are just using your phone, they make really inexpensive, don't tip my monitor over. They make really inexpensive, sorry, I moved it and now it won't go back into its home. Little ring lights that you can clip on over your phone. You can get them like for $5. That can be thrown in a sock drawer if that's what you need to use. Phones nowadays do really well as far as picture taking goes. You just need a good light source. One of the biggest things, especially if you're on a budget, like a window and a cheap sheet from Walmart that you can just thumbtack over the window is probably my biggest budget friendly option. And I know windows aren't like always accessible, or daylight is not always friendly. But like a little clip light that goes over your phone, I think you can get them at a drugstore. Walgreens sells them sometimes for like $5, or Rite Aid, CVS, whatever kind of pharmacy you have around you. It's usually like in the seasonal section. Any kind of like small ring light that is under, or small ring lights are pretty universally flattering for people, and provide a good amount of light for a smaller space and are fairly inexpensive, I can post some links to different lighting options that I use here after the chat inside of the event space chat. If anybody wants some recommendation stuff, they are all from Amazon, full transparency. The light that I mentioned earlier from Walmart, that is like the 71-inch. I know that sounds intimidating, but it does come apart and can collapse down and fold down, almost like the old school SWers that used to come in like 5 million pieces. You had to snap them all together. I'm aging myself. It comes apart, so it can get folded down, hidden in like a drawer, shoved under a bed, tucked away in the corner of a closet. I know for some people like that live in smaller spaces or where like discretion is heavily needed, having smaller options to do that with is super important. And I can send some product recommendations into the event chat afterwards if people are interested.
Do we have any other questions? Now is the time.
I know.
If not, I'm going to start babbling.
That's good.
Another favorite is if you are in a smaller space and you have access to an IKEA, these are these $7 paper lamps that they're the ones that are like a spiral. Every cam girl vet I know, cam model vet I know has these on either side of their monitor. They're dirt cheap. They're lamps. They're just regular lamps. If you get those, what is it? The like 7-headed lamps you can get from Walmart. Those are a little bit pricier. They're like
the octopus lamp.
$50. Yeah. If you keep the cones on them, the little light directors, and you point them directly at the wall behind you, that is a bright, softer light. That's the way to do it, is to bounce the light off of any walls you have, and as if you can't like fit a diffuser in the space. That's what I usually do because I have set things on fire with the sheet thing. LEDs are your friend. Regular light bulbs, not so much.
LEDs are your friend.
And those are the ones I can think of off the top of my head that are not Amazon. However, full disclosure, also an Amazon girly. Like, some of the quote unquote higher end stuff. So there is that Kawaii lighting company that everyone knows the Heart Light from.
Oh yeah.
But my favorite lighting or ring lights of theirs are these bigger. They're like 12 inches, maybe, but they're collapsible, like completely collapsible.
Oh, nice.
So this is part of my what I call my guerrilla shooting rig setup. I have 2 of these. They're super light, but they can stand up to like 52 to 60 inches tall. But they completely collapse like a folding chair does, like completely down. I can put these in a backpack. They're about $100. They're often sold out, but I live by these.
I feel you. I have my 2 little floodlights. They pack down to about yay high, but they extend when they're fully extended. They're about 5 feet tall.
Nice.
And I got them on Amazon, and they even come with their LEDs, so they won't set things on fire. And they even come with like fun filters. Like there was one that'll make the light warmer, a generic just white diffusion, and then a red and a blue. So I typically use those for my backlighting, for backdrop stuff to add a little moodiness, if you will.
Right, because with different color lighting and like if for people who have like the generic white setup, like you live in a boring. I live in a boring house with boring beige walls. But if you want to change the mood instantly of any regular content creation, throw a red light against a beige setup with a white sheet. Now it's red. You want to do it something different? Now it's green. You do it pink or blue if you can afford any RGB stuff. It's an easy way to change the mood without having to change anything else.
Like this picture.
Yeah.
This picture up here was actually shot with one of those floodlights. That's what I'm using, is that little red floodlight. It's down lower because I'm on the ground in this picture. But and then
so that's a really cool moody shot.
Yeah.
It's either got some artsy thing going on, you're about to kill me. I love it. Good dom lighting, you know?
Yes, I was always looking for good dom lighting.
Okay, so if anybody else has any questions, go ahead and feel free. These presentations are scheduled for about an hour, Of course, no obligation to fill the whole time.
I talked way faster than I thought I was going to, if I'm being totally honest.
It's a lot. It's both a lot more time and a lot less time than you think. Like,
I even put on my watch and I set a timer so it would buzz my wrist, so I would make sure I wouldn't stay too long on each slide. And then I was like going through slides and I was like, you are talking too fast, but it's too late to slow down now.
I think from my perspective, you seem fine. You know,
Oh, thanks.
Things were measured. Those slides were there until Google was a butthead.
Until Google was a butthead.
Story of our lives, right?
Fancy diagrams for more lighting setups, so you can see what that looks like.
Yeah, but so if there isn't any more questions, you can feel free to and you guys just want to hang out or make comments, feel free. Okay. Oh, looks like we've got a question.
Professional photos make a big difference in income. In my personal experience, no. Actually, so I have shot with two pro, I use that term loosely, photographers in my career. And while the sets were great, they didn't do, I don't know, maybe it was just a weird look at the draw, but they didn't do as well for me. I have more used those photos from those shoots for promo material than I have for actual paid content now at this point. But for me, no.
That's been my experience as well. So there's a feel that comes with content, and I've noticed in the industry, things are going one of two ways: highly quote unquote amateur but great looking phone content, or VR.
Yep.
So it's either 1040 or 1080p or 8K. You can see every pimple on my butt. And if you're an indie content creator, your fans often associate, again, I use this in loosest terms, amateur setups and amateur lighting with realness. So if what you're selling is I'm accessible, I make all my own stuff, this is me, you don't need ever a pro photographer.
No.
It's great for promo. It's great for social media stuff, honestly. And in a way, there are some things you can learn from hiring a photographer once or twice, such as how to pose. You might be able to steal their secrets from how they light themselves. I've done that. You can learn more about backdrops and setups. Some people have really specific styles. There's this shiny plastic stuff called Mylar that I learned about that you can spend $40 for a 100-foot roll, and it's really, really, really shiny and reflective. You wrinkle that on the ground and you throw one light on there, it looks amazing. It looks like water. Things like that. Those are reasons to hire a pro photographer if you're so inclined, but it's absolutely not necessary. Sometimes you also want to hire a photographer for you because the photos make you feel good. Also another reason, but absolutely not necessary.
No, I would echo what Tegan said. That's definitely not needed. The two that I did work with, I learned some tips and tricks from them. I learned some cool ways to shoot in some shoot modes for my camera, my DSLR. But other than that, I felt like I was getting more value. I also appreciated being able to have more creative control over what I was doing by shooting my own stuff.
All right, if that's all the questions, then I'm going to take this time to plug again. This is a recording in theory. Again, there will be a link in the doobly-doo to the SWers Network Discord. That's a thing that's hard to say.
3 times fast?
3 times fast, right? SWers Network, SWers Network, SWers Network, SWers Network.